So you have one of the new 3rd generation Sony cameras. In my hand, the a7R III, and I'm filming on the a7 III. And even though this camera is an absolute workhorse, sometimes the menu could be a little bit intimidating. Now there's a ton of different features with these mirrorless cameras that you guys need to be taking advantage of. So for today's video, I'm going to be talking about my top 5 features with the Sony a7 III and a7R III, and I guarantee you guys there's a couple of them that you didn't even know about. Coming up. So now when it comes to the new generation of Sony cameras, unfortunately, they don't really have any Easter eggs hidden inside them like Elon Musk did with the Tesla model. So this camera is not going to dance around and play music or take its own photos, but there are some really cool features that this camera has inside it. Now, being that this menu is a little bit intimidating and it goes for pages on days, some of the stuff you just have to dive into. So like I had mentioned in the intro, we're going to be talking about my top 5 features with the Sony camera. And I jump in on the forums, I talk to a bunch of Sony shooters, and some of these features, not that many of you are taking advantage of. Now, this is going to improve your workflow and just overall have a better user experience with this camera. So let's get into feature number 1. Now for feature number 1, we're going to be talking about 2 different settings that I like to use in combination with one another. Now this specifically goes for lifestyle or product photography. Now when I normally do portraits, I have face or eye detection on. However, if I'm doing a lifestyle picture with a model wearing, say, a backpack or a t-shirt or a hat, my favorite focusing mode is DMF combined with peaking. So you're probably wondering what DMF stands for, and it stands for direct manual focusing. What that means is you're gonna have the ability to use your autofocusing features, but while you're half pressed on the shutter and your focus peaking is set, you can then use your focusing ring and dial in that focus manually a little bit better to make sure everything is sharp. Now this works really well, and I really rely on this over the AFC mode. This way I can make sure that the shot that I'm taking is absolutely tacked sharp. Now to get this all set up, make sure you go into your function menu and turn DMF on with your focusing mode. The next thing we're going to do is jump into our camera menu. So what we're going to do now is set up our peaking. We're going to hit the menu button, make sure we're on tab 1, and scroll over to page 13. And inside this, it's going to have a couple options. We're going to scroll right down to peaking setting. Inside, you'll notice there's display, level, and color. Display we want on, the level we either want on low or medium. High gives you way too much of that focus peaking and it kind of throws you off. I usually start with low and then go to medium, and then all we have to do is select the color. I personally like red. It stands out more. Blue gets lost in the sky, white gets lost in the highlights, yellow straight ugly, and I don't even know if there's a green. I don't remember because I've always used red on every Sony camera that I've owned, so that's the one that I go with. So that's feature 1. Now for feature number 2 is also directed to photographers. Don't worry, video guys, I'm gonna get to that in just a second, but the next one is called bright monitoring. Now what bright monitoring is pretty much, in layman's terms, it blasts your ISO so that you could see the back of your screen without affecting your image. Now you might ask, why is this cool? Well, for you guys shooting night photos or astrophotography, this is a game changer because it allows you to get your composition without having to take a bunch of sample images and guess and correct and guess and correct and keep taking sample images. You get my point. Now, bright monitoring is super easy to set up, but we do have to select a custom button on our camera to toggle it on and off. To get this set up super easy, we're gonna go into our menu and go to tab 2, page 8. That's our custom key option right there. You're gonna select that, and then all you wanna do is scroll right over after you pick whichever button you want to have it set up to, and you're going to go to page 18 and then select bright monitoring. I personally on my R3 and 7 III like to use the C4, also known as the trash can button, to toggle this on and off. And now you have it. You guys could take photos at night or your astrophotography in pitch black and be able to see your composition without doing a million different test shots. You're welcome. Now for feature number 3, we're gonna be talking about sunny weather. You might be like, okay, what's that have to do with the Sony camera? Well, sunny weather is an option that you can select for not only your EVF, but the back of your LCD screen. Now, there is a warning that I have to give you guys. Do not, and I stress this enough, do not judge your image by the back of your screen or through your viewfinder. It will look brighter, and when you load your footage or your pictures onto your computer, it's not gonna be that bright. Now, what sunny weather is for is when you're filming high noon, midday with a ton of sun and you cannot see your LCD screen or your EVF. This is pretty much just increasing the brightness, say, like on my monitor, so you could see it better. It's that simple. Now, what I suggest is if you're gonna use this mode, all you have to do is pay attention to your EV meter and your histogram. As long as you're reading those 2 meters, you can rock the sunny weather option for your monitor brightness or your EVF brightness and not have any issues. But I do have to give you guys the warning, because I know a lot of you guys take what we YouTubers say to heart. Just watch your EV and your histogram, and now you can film in the middle of the day or take pictures looking at the back of your viewfinder or EVF in the middle of the day and not have any issues squinting or trying to guess if it's good enough. To simply set this up, all we have to do is hit the menu and scroll right over to the briefcase, which is setup 1. And the first option available is monitor brightness. Just go into there and select sunny weather. Now, I personally have this option set in my quick menu setup, which I'll be giving you guys a tip on at the end of this video. So I have faster, quicker access to this when I need to toggle it on and off. So that's how you get sunny weather set up with your monitor brightness. Now for feature number 4, this is going out to you hybrid shooters that like to do photo and video at the same time. What we're talking about is the gamma display assist. What that means is anytime we're using a picture profile like hybrid log gamma or S-Log2, we can see what the colors would look like without that flat picture profile showing up on the back of our screen. However, if we jump onto the M dial and have to get some photos and then switch back to video, you'll notice that the gamma display is still on when you're taking photos. And that could throw you off a little bit, could kind of mess you up when you're doing raw photos. So what I do is use the gamma display assist set to auto. So it intelligently knows that when we're using a picture profile to turn it on, and then when we're doing raw photos to turn it off. It's a game changer, I know. Now I have this set up 2 different ways. One is in my function menu, and if you don't know how to do that, I'll save that for a later day. Just to turn this on right now, all we have to do is go to tab 5 in the menu, which looks like that briefcase. Then we're going to just scroll down to gamma display assist, and you guys could put it on auto. Now there are different options for like S-Log2, 3, and hybrid log gamma. However, you don't always want this on. So by having it set to auto, like I had mentioned, it's going to be used when you need it and then not when you don't need it. Super simple, very easy. Now for feature number 5, we're gonna be talking about 2 different things, but they're kind of like the same thing, but they're not. One is Super 35 mode and the other is clear image zoom. So let's talk about clear image zoom. Clear image zoom is a digital zoom that Sony claims you're not gonna notice any real resolution drop. Now this is good for a couple different things. It only works in JPEG when you're taking photos, so just keep that in mind. What I like to use clear image zoom for is specifically 4K video. That allows me to zoom in a little bit more, get a little distance on a prime lens, and overall keep my quality up. Now, you guys might be wondering what Super 35 mode is compared to clear image zoom. And what Super 35 mode is it crops in 1.5, I believe, to my knowledge. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's about 1.5 of a crop. But what that's doing is essentially dropping your megapixel count. So if you're taking raw photos, say on an R3 and you're at 42 megapixels and then you crop in, you're gonna notice that your pictures are probably gonna reduce to less than 25 megapixels, probably between 20 and 25, which isn't bad for the R3, but if you do this to the 7 III, just be aware it's gonna be closer to 12. But you can combine Super 35 mode and clear image zoom with 4K video and get even more distance covered. This is perfect for prime lenses. Now, I suggest you do this on locked off tripod shots, or you're really good with your gimbal movements, because not only do you have to move very slow because you can't slow it down, but you're also zooming in super tight. So any slight adjustment is going to show it's going to show a lot, is what I'm trying to say, on the screen. So just keep that in mind. But these two I really do love. Now for my Super 35 option, I have it set to my C3 button. I have to double check, but it's the C3 button, and I could toggle it on and off. And unlike clear image zoom, you can use this with raw photos. Just keep in mind the megapixel drop is going to affect probably people that are blowing up pictures like I have behind me, but for Instagram and social media, you're gonna suffer compression anyway, so screw it. So once again, we're gonna go back into our menu, we're gonna find the custom key, and then we're gonna pick the button that we wanna select, and then you're just gonna scroll over until you find Super 35 mode, and now it's locked in on your camera with its settings. Now for clear image zoom, I like using the dial. So what I will do is I will press the down button on the dial and then scroll in. What that allows me to do is be able to scroll in and scroll out of clear image zoom. Now for video, you do need to have it set to JPEG for you to be able to use this. Now click above somewhere up here and refer to my filmmaking settings for the a7 III or R3, and that will go way more in depth with getting clear image zoom set up. Essentially, you have optical zoom set as a default. You just need to switch it over in the menu. It's super easy, and you guys could check that out in the video in the description or the one that just slid above me. So those are my top 5 features, but I'm gonna give you guys a bonus tip. My favorite feature, which allows me to custom alter and manipulate the in-depth menu on the Sony cameras, is using the favorite system. So if you hit your menu button and go over to the star at the very right side of the screen, you can now pick your selects and put them inside this. I think you could have up to 5 or 6 different pages, but these are where all the things that I'm using the camera with in the menu that's usually a pain in the butt to get to lives. So I have like pretty much everything. Let me read off to what I have on mine. So right now I have formats number 1, touchpad settings, HDMI settings, monitor brightness, viewfinder brightness, send the smartphone function, custom key, function menu. I mean, the list goes on. Zebra settings. Everything that I need to access quick is going to be on that star, and this way I don't have to scroll through the menu and lose my mind trying to find the stuff I need to get to. So that wraps up today's video on my favorite features as of right now when it comes to the R3 or the a7 III. Let me know if you guys learned a new feature or a combination of features that will improve your workflow. Until next time, guys, I'm Jason Anthony. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Peace.